If you told me a few years ago that the quiet marina I inherited from my uncle would turn into the battleground for one of the strangest corruption wars in Eastwater Cove, Massachusetts, I would have laughed, poured another cup of coffee, and gone back to sanding the rail of my boat. But the night I slammed that steel gate shut, the night Victoria Hale screamed at the top of her lungs that my dock was community property, something inside me snapped, something old, something I'd buried under decades of service with the U.S. Coast Guard. My name is Evan Mercer, retired Coast Guard engineer, and I own 2 pieces of waterfront property in Eastwater Cove, the house where I live, and the 6-slip marina my uncle, Commander Lewis Mercer, built in 1988. He was the kind of man who trusted hard labor and legal paperwork more than he trusted people. When he passed, he left me a place filled with creosote, diesel, salt air, and memories of every boat he ever repaired. Those docks were his pride, permitted, surveyed, environmentally approved, filed under their own deed. Lot 42B, private, permanent, outside the jurisdiction of any future HOA. For the first few months, I lived the quietest life I'd known since hanging up the uniform. Fixing planks, restoring my uncle's old skiff, grilling dinner on the deck. Then she arrived. Victoria Hale, 48, real estate shark, HOA president of the Eastwater Bluff Association, pearls always perfect, hair sprayed to immovable oblivion. Married to Councilman Rowan Hale, a man who spoke in handshakes and campaign promises. Together, they were the kind of couple who believed waterfront sunlight belonged to them by divine appointment. Every Thursday, like clockwork, Victoria and her Waves and Wine Club, 12 women with SUV convoys and enough Chardonnay stockpiled to lubricate a battleship, descended on my marina. They clinked glasses on my teak rails, scattered cheese boards on my dock boxes, blocked my boat access, and left lipstick-stained plastic cups floating like miniature buoys. I tried polite. I tried firm. I tried quietly pointing at the deed and reminding her the marina predates the HOA by a decade. She just smiled, patted my arm, and hit me with the line that made my blood pressure spike. Evan, darling, waterfront spaces are for the community. I'll have Rowan verify. Days later, Rowan magically discovered an obscure HOA covenant claiming communal access to recreational waterfront facilities. Never mind the fact my marina wasn't part of their facilities. Never mind the separate deed. Never mind the original incorporation papers. Victoria smelled opportunity and profit. She started charging her wine club friends $60 per person for slip access, meaning she was monetizing my property while calling me antisocial. But the night one of her drunk friends tried to steal my uncle's restored whaler, caught on my security camera fumbling the ignition like she was auditioning for Grand Theft Auto, I realized the situation wasn't going to fix itself. So I installed a $12,000 steel gate, the kind that would stop a truck. Electronic locks, pressure sensors, cameras so sharp they could catch a seagull blinking. When that gate clanged shut for the first time, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Control. Victoria, however, heard war drums. The next morning, I found a 3-page HOA complaint accusing me of restricting community harmony and unlawful obstruction of shared amenities. She called an emergency review board meeting, set at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday when normal people with jobs couldn't show up, where she unveiled a PowerPoint presentation titled, Preserving the Spirit of Eastwater Cove. Slides of my gate, pink highlighter marks, red arrows pointing at locks like they were weapons of mass destruction. She expected me to fold. She didn't expect me to walk in with Commander Mercer's original 1988 permits, pulled straight from the town archive by the legendary clerk Mrs. Geneva Hollis, who'd been filing documents since Carter's presidency. She didn't expect the incorporation papers explicitly excluding Lot 42B. And she certainly didn't expect the silence that fell when I spread those documents on the table like a royal flush. Her smile died first, then the room. But I saw something else in her eyes that morning. Calculating, cold, sharpened by desperation. A promise. This wasn't over. This was her opening act. 2 days after that meeting, a random city inspection landed on my dock like a bad omen. The inspector, Colton Reeves, looked like he'd never stepped on a marina in his life. His boots slipped on algae. His camera shook in his hands. He squinted at electrical boxes my uncle wired to military-grade standards, muttering words he clearly didn't understand. proximity violation, community safety, non-compliant access lighting. His report: 17 violations. Recommendation: temporary municipal oversight. Translation: Rowan Hale would take control of my marina through the city. They weren't stealing my dock with HOA rules anymore. They were weaponizing government. I hired Dr. Mira Valdez, head of Blue Harbor Marine Engineering, to run an independent inspection. She walked those planks like a surgeon, testing bolts, tension cables, environmental protections. Her verdict: this marina exceeds modern standards. Whoever called it unsafe is either incompetent or lying. I already knew which. Then the anonymous letters came. Plain envelopes. No return labels. Inside the first, HOA minutes from 2019 discussing multi-phase waterfront acquisition strategy. My lot number was circled. The note read simply: "You're not their first target." Yef. I found Eleanor Finch, the signature's owner, living in a quiet cottage near the bluff. 76 years old, retired archivist, eyes sharper than any official in town. She invited me in, pulled boxes from her basement. 30 years of records, minutes, memos, letters the HOA pretended never existed. She told me the truth. The Hales had been orchestrating a systematic waterfront seizure ring for years. Manufactured violations, bogus taxes, staged emergencies. They'd forced out multiple families, including the Redford and Henderson households, who now lived scattered across the country. She handed me another file, a letter written in 1988 by a young Victoria Hale, acknowledging that Lot 42B was exempt from HOA control. Her signature, her handwriting, her lie exposed. Everything clicked into place. Victoria wasn't clueless. She wasn't misinformed. She'd known the marina was private for 30 years. Her actions weren't greed. They were strategy, and she'd done it before. I called attorney Rowan Bishop, a specialist in municipal corruption who'd worked with the Coast Guard legal branch on fraud cases. When he saw the documents, he didn't lean back. He leaned forward. "This isn't HOA overreach," he said. "This is racketeering." We brought in forensic accountant Devin Cho, who connected financial trails between Rowan Hale's failed construction companies, fixer contractors, shell LLCs, and distressed waterfront purchases. Each property showed a pattern: fake violations, emergency hearings, tax hikes, forced sale, flip for profit, a small-town version of organized crime. Meanwhile, Victoria escalated her media campaign. She appeared on Channel 7, standing dramatically at the public beach near my gate, claiming I was an unstable veteran, hoarding community resources. She staged a Marina Liberation rally, with printed signs reading, "Share the shoreline," and gave interviews about my hostility. Then she pulled the stunt that nearly sent me over the edge. One afternoon, while pretending she didn't see one of my cameras, she limped onto my dock, glanced at the lens, hooked her heel on a cleat, and threw herself onto the planks in the most theatrical fall I've ever seen. She called 911, filed a $50,000 injury claim, posted photos of her injury on Facebook. Too bad my cameras recorded every second. Her walking fine, her staging the fall, her glancing at the camera repeatedly. The insurance investigator laughed so hard he had to wipe his eyes. Within hours, he recommended criminal charges for fraud. Then came Rowan's retaliation. A midnight vote at City Hall, illegally scheduled, attempted to trigger eminent domain, labeling my marina a public safety risk requiring municipal acquisition. But Eleanor had anticipated this. She activated what I now call the Finch phone tree. Dozens of neighbors she'd quietly recruited over years of watching corruption. They flooded City Hall, cameras in hand, demanding legal process. Rowan's face turned the color of boiled lobster. But the worst, and perhaps most desperate, move was Rowan trying to access my protected Coast Guard service records, fishing for anything he could twist into a weapon. What he didn't know was that such unauthorized access triggers federal alerts. That's how Special Agent Dana Klein of the FBI's Public Integrity Task Force got involved. When she visited my house, badge glinting in the kitchen light, she said the words that turned the tide. "We've been tracking the Hale network for months. You just gave us proof." The trap was set. The town hall was scheduled. Cameras required. Attendance mandatory. Victoria thought it would be her stage. She had no idea she was walking into her own televised downfall. The night of the town hall, the Eastwater Community Center pulsed with tension. Folding chairs filled. People stood shoulder to shoulder, holding coffees, clutching old HOA notices, whispering decades of suppressed grievances. Victoria arrived in a white blazer, makeup flawless, leaning dramatically on a cane, the same one from her staged fall. Rowan walked beside her, greeting supporters like he was running for re-election instead of teetering on the edge of a federal indictment. 3 news stations set up along the back wall, their cameras humming. Eleanor stood beside me at the front, organizing her files with the calm precision of someone preparing an artillery strike. Attorney Bishop and Agent Klein sat silently, waiting. Victoria spoke first, voice trembling with manufactured vulnerability, painting me as a rogue veteran destroying community harmony. When she finished, I didn't argue. I simply turned on the projector. Commander Mercer's original 1988 Marina permits. Lot 42B, separate deed, exempt forever. Gasps. The HOA's founding documents, recovered from Eleanor's basement, confirming the same exemption. Whispers. A scanned letter written by young Victoria Hale, acknowledging the exemption in her own handwriting. Silence. The room shifted, physically, emotionally, morally. Then I showed the fraudulent listings Victoria used to sell homes with guaranteed Marina access, including a premium VA loan sale to Navy veteran Sarah Whitlock, who rose from her chair, voice cracking as she explained how she and her husband had drained savings for a home based on a lie. Neighbors murmured in outrage. Then came the kicker. I played the security footage of Victoria staging her fall on my dock, slowed down, zoomed in, showing her glancing at the camera before dropping like a badly trained stunt actor. Laughter erupted, cynical at first, then cathartic, then furious. Agent Klein stepped forward, badge visible under the lights, and spoke into the microphone. Based on submitted evidence, the U.S. Attorney's Office has authorized charges for fraud, conspiracy, racketeering, false reporting, harassment, witness intimidation, and attempted municipal corruption. 2 process servers approached the Hales with thick envelopes. Victoria read the first page and burst into sobs. Rowan went sheet white, his career evaporating in front of the cameras. Sheriff's deputies moved in. Handcuffs clicked, loud, metallic, final. The crowd didn't cheer, at first. They watched, stunned, silent, absorbing decades of pent-up injustice dissolving before their eyes. Then applause rolled across the room like thunder. Eleanor leaned toward me and whispered, "Took 30 years, but we got them." 6 months later, justice arrived in full. Victoria Hale, guilty plea, 18 months federal prison for $150,000 restitution. Councilman Rowan Hale, 36 months prison on racketeering and corruption. Multiple HOA board members, removed or fined. City Inspector Colton, charged with falsifying reports. Illicit property purchases, reversed or compensated. With settlement funds, Eleanor founded the Finch Property Defense Fund, helping families fight abusive HOAs. I helped establish the Mercer Veterans Dock Program, opening my slips for therapeutic fishing groups. Eastwater Bluff Association rewrote its bylaws from the ground up, open finances, term limits, mandatory public votes, no more secret meetings. And my marina? Still private, still quiet, still exactly what my uncle built it to be. Sometimes I stand on the deck at sunrise, listening to halyards chime in the wind, watching fishermen cast lines into misty water, and I think about how close the Hales came to stealing not just my dock, but my life. But we fought, we documented, we endured, and we won. And now I leave you with the question I keep turning over in my mind. When powerful people twist community into a weapon, how far should ordinary citizens be allowed to go to protect what's theirs? And at what point does fighting back become its own form of justice?